Hi, everybody. Welcome to our third spring art program with Amy Wicks. So happy that everybody's here, and I hope you were able to pick up your art kits at your local library. I will go ahead and stop talking so you can start getting taught by the wonderful Amy Wicks. So thank you guys for being here today.
Hi guys, and welcome. I'm so happy to be here. We're going to be working on this really fun beaded wind chime today. Let's see, give you a better view. It got a little blurry on that side. So hopefully you were able to pick up a kit from the library. And even if you weren't able to, I'm going to go over the supplies that we'll need to make this beaded wind chime. This is a pretty simple project. Don't worry about it turning out exactly like mine. If you want to do yours differently, if you only want to add a couple of strings, you don't want to add all the bells or all the accessories that I've put in the kits, then don't worry about that. You make your art your way and have fun. So as far as supplies, if you did pick up the kit, you're still going to need some scissors. And then if you weren't able to pick up the kit, we are using some driftwood today. So that could be substituted with any sort of thicker stick that you could find outside on a nature walk. I'm going to be using some little bells that make a little clanky sound. I'm going to be using some fishing line, which will be sort of hard to see here because it's clear, but standard fishing line. And then I'm going to be using assorted beads in different colors. And again, if you were able to grab the kit, you might find one or two beads that are bigger than the rest in your kit. And then additionally, we'll need some sort of string to make a hanger for your wind chime when it's done. And so with these supplies, we'll go ahead and get started. Real quick, I am an art teacher with the libraries and also locally here in Arroyo Grande. And so I really enjoy doing these projects that are simple and fun with your age group. So let's see. The first thing that we'll need to do is go ahead and grab your driftwood or stick that you found. It can be smaller. It does not have to be this big. I'm using a medium one just so that I can show you guys. You can get a little bit of a better view, but you can also be working with a stick that's like half this size. So your preference, whatever sort of stick you have lying around or that you found on a nature walk will do just fine. I'm going to grab a bell and I'm going to grab some fishing line. I'm going to, in the kits, I was able to provide some fishing line. You would have found it wound up. So go ahead and unwind that now. And we want to cut our fishing line into 3 pieces. Now, they don't have to be exactly equal, but they are going to be what the wind chime beads are strung onto. So if you can see that these are different lengths, so I'm going to leave that up to you. If you want to make them all the same length, or if you want to make one smaller, or you want to make them like decrease in size, like one is bigger and then medium size and then smaller. It just depends on how you want your wind chime to hang. So we'll go ahead and unroll that fishing line, and then you'll want to cut it into 3 pieces. And let's see, I'm going to say about an arm length long. So more than a foot, probably about 15 inches long. You don't have to measure it out, but just sort of think about the way that, like how long you want your wind chime strand of beads to be. Okay. So after cutting one piece, we can do a little test run here and see how long you want to have it. So I'm going to go just string it right through the bell. and I'm going to tie it about 3 times, just so I make sure that all the beads that we put on don't fall off. So here's my second knot, and then I'll go ahead and give it one last knot just to make sure that it's tight. And then is the fun part, starting to string on the beads. Now you're going to get assorted colors, so there's really no particular order that you have to put the beads on, which is kind of fun. You end up with this really artistic look of just different styles of beads in different colors, which I think is really fun. So you'll just start stringing on the beads, and in every art kit there was over 100 beads, so you're looking at putting like around 30 to 40 beads on each strand. So that'll take a little bit of time, but I'll just very quickly string on some beads to show you. And then as I'm stringing, I'll also kind of test that they're not falling off that my bell is not falling off. The bell will serve as the big giant stopper on these beads. And so I'm not really going to pay attention to color selection. I'm just going to start stringing these on. If you have some other unique items that you would want to add to your wind chime, that's totally fun and fine too. You could add buttons, or if you were really crafty, you could get seashells and have someone drill a hole in them and add those too. I've done that also. It's super fun. If you have other beads lying around at your house, maybe like glass beads or stone beads, those can also be added to this. It's sort of a really artistic little wind chime here. So be creative and have fun. So I'm just continually stringing here. And then on my second strand, so we'll go ahead and make the three strands like this. That will be our goal. Different lengths or the same length, up to you. But on one of them, I'm going to add the bigger bead. Everyone should have received like somewhat of a unique animal or a flower bead that's bigger than all the rest of the beads. So at some point, you'll want to think about, where do you want that unique bead to go? And we'll just keep stringing these on. And then again, there's going to be about 30 to 40 beads on each strand. And you don't necessarily have to count them out, but maybe you want to set your beads in 3 piles and just sort of see that they visually look even. Like if I set a pile here, a pile here, and a pile here, that they were sort of equal, then that would be around 30. Or if you really wanted to count them out, of course, and you had the time, you could do that. I'm not going to set mine in piles right now, just because I'm afraid that they might start rolling all around and then it'll be harder for you guys to see the tutorial. So I'm just going to keep plugging along with beading these on here, stringing these on. Another helpful hint too would be to grab a piece of tape if this is if it's too difficult to string the beads on without without this moving. You could just tape down right in front of the bell, and then that way you're not losing your strand of beads when you're looking to put different beads on, if that makes sense. In a little bit, after we get this guy going, we'll have a time to answer any questions you may have. So just hold your questions and think about those. And at the right time, we'll take all the questions. We'll have plenty of time to answer. All right. So this guy's getting fairly long. Add a few more. And then there's also something else you could be thinking about while working on this project of adding to your wind chime. There are other clanky items besides the bells. The bells are a really fun one for this particular art kit, but you could also, if you wanted to make your wind chime a little bit more unique and add something of some character to it, you could think about adding like some spoons, some metal spoons or forks or little tin cans and things like that, things that will make noise when the wind hits them. And that can also be found just around the house. So I like to do projects like that with things that we can find on hand. Okay, so this one is looking pretty good. It's like fairly long, as you can see. And what I'm going to do is then with the excess and without dropping the beads off, which is get a little bit challenging. So you're going to hold the string of beads in one hand, give yourself a little space with the fishing line between the end of the beads and the stick. And then I'm just going to wrap this around once. And then I'm going to set it down because then I know that it's wrapped around and the beads can't fall off. And then I'm going to just tie about 3 knots like I did with the bell. So when I get this guy really tight, so all of our hard work doesn't fall off, because that's the biggest bummer whenever you're stringing beads and then we've all done it and then they just all fall off and you have to start over. It's total bummer, but we're going to try to avoid that here. So I'm going to tie this really tight, about 3 knots. And then let's see how this one hangs. Another knot here. And take your time. This project is going to take a bit of time because there's a lot of beading and there's a lot of knots. And luckily, where we live, we get a lot of wind. So hopefully I'll be able to test this out soon. I can actually hear my wind chime going off outside. Okay. So there we go. I've tied that pretty tight and I want to slowly just lift it up and make sure that it's tight enough that it's not going to fall off. Seems pretty good. So I'm just going to repeat that 2 more times. And then once we're confident that our knots are holding, we can come back later and trim off the extra. Okay. So I'm going to leave it for now, but at the end, I'll come back and trim it off. All right. So same process again. Going to work on another string that's about arm length. Let's see, get that in the camera here. It's about the length of my arm, a little bit longer, about 15 inches long. And then to take one end and tie a bell to it. And then repeat that whole process again. So I'll do one more for you just to show you. So I'm doing 3 knots. And then this one, maybe we'll string a little bit more beads on. So just get going with the beads, and then the extra string that's in your kit we'll use to form the hanger. And we're going to want to tie that really tight too, so that it can hold your wood and your beaded strings of bells. Okay. Get some beads on here and then think about adding our large unique bead in the center of that. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. Just keep working on it. It'll take some time here. Okay, so I've got about, very carefully, whenever you're working with beads, you really want to test it carefully and make sure that your knots are holding so that it doesn't just fly right off. Okay, so I've added several beads to my second string, and now I'm going to find that unique one that's in my kit. I got this kind of cool little elephant here. So I'm going to grab that guy and put that right in the center just to kind of mix up the flow of the beads here. And then I'll add some more beads. And then we will tie it off at the end on the wood again. All right, guys. Other items that you could add just for decoration, not necessarily for sound, but for fun, would be like smaller dried flowers or feathers would be really cool on your wind chime as well. So you could kind of get it as decorated as you wanted. You could be super creative with this and add more than just what I'm showing you. But this is a good start. So we're getting lots of beads on this guy now. We're almost ready to tie it off. So after stringing the beads for a while, you'll want to just kind of lay it flat and see how many beads you have on it. So this looks like it's about the same as the first one that I did. So maybe we'll go just slightly longer, maybe like 10 more beads on this one so that it hangs slightly longer. Just for fun. It's interesting to make them longer and shorter because then when you hang them outside, it gives your eye just a little bit of interest instead of making them exactly the same length, which that's okay too. Whichever way you want to do it. Alrighty. Okay, so that's pretty good. It's a little longer than the first one. So again, I'm going to wrap it around nice and tight just to make sure that it's secure and we don't lose all our beads. And then I'm going to work on knotting this guy. About 3 good knots, nice and tight. And then we'll worry about the excess at the end. Just want to make sure that these knots hold. Sometimes with fishing line, it can be a little bit slippery. So when in doubt, add an extra knot. Okay, so that seems pretty good. So I'm liking that. It has 2 different, completely different lengths. So it looks pretty cool. Okay, so then in your kit, so as you're working, oops, look, see, this is getting a little bit loose. So I'm going to add even one more wrap around and one more knot here. In your kit, you'll have enough to make one more strand, and I'll work on that in just a minute when we're taking questions. But right now I'm going to show you just how to make the hanger, which is the final step. So again, if you're going to add another strand, which I will in a minute, you're going to want to leave space for the other strand to hang. And then we're going to work on the hanger real quick, just so I can show you how to do that. So in the kit, you will have received some string. And this is different than the fishing line. It's quite long because we're going to do some wrapping with it. All different colors came out in the kit, so I'm not quite sure what color each person would have, but I have like a red and white here. So I'm going to tie a knot at one side, sort of similar to how I tied off the fishing line. All right, so that's nice and tight. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of character here by wrapping this guy. I'd say about 6 or 7 times, just until it has a little bit of, you can sort of see that it has a nice wrap to it there. And then we're going to want to tie that off again. So one more knot around, and this is just to keep it in place, having the hanger at the top rather than the bottom. So doing another knot here. And then just sort of checking that you knotted it at the top so that when we hang this guy, the hanger knot is at the top here. Oops, more string. Okay, and then I'll do the same on the other side. So I'll kind of think how long do I want my hanger to be? Usually I would say it's about 10 inches hanging on either side. So up about 10 inches and then back down about 10 inches. So we really want to make sure that we leave space because however long you make it, when you pull it to hang it, it's going to go half as long, if that makes sense. So it'd be like a triangle. So I know that I kind of want it to be about this length. So I put my finger there to hold it in place. And then I'm just going to wrap it several times. Same as the other side, about maybe 8 times here. And then at the end of the string, this one actually turned out just perfectly because the string is at its end and I have plenty to tie it with. So then I'm going to tie it to the top here with a nice little knot. And I'm going to knot that again to make sure that it stays. And just so it gets nice and tight. And then there we have a nice little hanger with wrapped sides. And then we still have space to add one more strand of beads. And so hopefully we can come up with something like that. And then now I think is a great time to take any questions while I'm going to go ahead and start working on my 3rd strand of beads. So I hope everyone's doing good and let me know if you have any questions.
And everybody should be able to unmute themselves or turn their cameras on and off, but put it in the chat if you're having any issues.
Okay, so I'm going to start working on my 3rd strand here. And then you guys just let me know if you have questions or if anyone wants to show their work. I'm going to knot this bell, my 3rd and last one here. Make sure it's nice and tight. About 3 knots. And then we'll go ahead and start beading the last one. And this one, I can already tell is going to be a little bit shorter the way I've cut it. So I want to make sure that I have enough string left to knot it at the top as well. go ahead and work on that now. And I'll just be beading. So if you have any questions, let me know. I hope everyone's is working out for you. And same thing again, I'm just going to bead about 30 beads on this string, about 30 beads on this bell. Is everyone able to attach their bells okay and make it through a strand of beads?
This feels like one of those projects that takes two hands.
Yeah. Yeah, it
People might not be able to turn their mics on.
yeah, might be in the zone here. All right, guys, so just keep working here. It's just a lot of stringing and a lot of knots. The knots are the most important thing so that we don't lose all our beadwork. So let's see. Well, it might look cute to do a short one there. I might make this one my shortest one. Just make it a little bit more interesting. All right, guys, I'm gonna get ready to tie off the third one here. It's gonna be my last one. So I wanna place it right in between the second strand and the hanger. So I'm gonna find the place and hold it there. And then give it a few knots just to make sure. And then the final step would be to go around and trim off all the excess string and fishing line. So make sure that your knots are in place before you do that. Just because if you have to retie it, you don't want to cut it off too short. So just go around and tug on your knots and make sure that they're going to stay in place. And then, so I'm going to kind of pull firmly on this guy and then pull firmly on these just to make sure that they're going to stay. And then we can go ahead and trim off the extra. So very carefully so that we don't cut one strand. And that is it. The wind chime is complete. And then the fun part would be finding a place to hang it outside. Well, actually, I forgot there's some extra down here by the bells as well. But again, make sure that the bells are on there tight before you cut any extra off. And then the fun part, like I was saying, is going to be finding an awesome place to hang it outside and hear it get some wind and hear the bells make some noise.
people want to share where they're at in the project? If you guys want to put it in the chat, turn on your cameras and just show where you're at, or turn on your mics and tell us.
Yeah, I hope everyone is doing okay here. I like this longer one in the middle.
So do you have a special place where you get all your beads and your bells from if people want to make another one?
There used to be this really cool place I like to go in downtown Slow, but I think it closed recently. So these ones I just got on Amazon, but there was this really cool large assorted bead box that I found on there that had, that's why I picked these, because it had such different beads. There was some animals and there were some like bigger ones and flowers and different things. So everyone should have like tons of different ones. So yeah, and I like these bells because they clank pretty good. So I'm hoping with the wind that it'll catch pretty well.
And I am just curious personally, where did you get all your sticks from?
Oh, yeah. So that is funny. I've been collecting them for a long time after we decided to do this project. So we just, the beach or just on walks and just started collecting them. Just any ones that looked unique. And yeah. I
was wondering, I thought, wow, this is such a cool amount of sticks. I can't believe she just bought these online.
No, yeah, we've been collecting them. Actually, my mom collect a lot. It was like, we need a lot. So any cool sticks that you find, like, let's just save them for the project. And
nice.
We came up with this awesome collection. It's mostly, I think, driftwood. So
yeah, really beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Cool.
Turned out good.
All right. Does anybody want to be brave enough to share their wind chime that they've worked on?
We had no brave kids today.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right. Sometimes
it's Friday.
Sometimes you're in the middle of it too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if nobody wants to turn on their camera to share or have any questions, I think we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Oh, I see somebody.
Oh, that one. Yay. Oh, it looks awesome. Yeah. I hope you had fun. We really, really enjoyed this project. I hope you liked it. Yours looks really good.
That one does look great. Thanks a million.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, I see another person.
There's my kiddo.
Yes, hi. Great
job. They're coming together.
Nice. Thanks, guys. Thanks for sharing. Okay, great. Yeah. Well, that was another wonderful, fun art project, and we'll go ahead and end that now. And we'll have more grab and go art kits from Amy Wicks this summer. So we will have some in June. So you'll have to check back in with your local library then. And thanks, Amy.
Yes, thank you guys so much for joining and for picking up the kits. I hope you enjoyed.
Okay, have a great one.